Today I'll be discussing on the importance of citation in research writing, and more than talking about the styles which we will discuss as time progress. There are certain things that we need to remember while referencing or while citing. So the first thing is that we need to understand that every source that we are using in our academic writing needs to be cited, needs to be reference needs to be given. So I will not be using alternatively the word referencing and citing. So I'll be using citation or referencing alternatively, and you can um, look into this aspect. Now, unfortunately, when we look at the academia as a whole, there is not a single universally accepted and or recognized method of acknowledging secondary sources. The why I'm saying this, that because depending on the university, depending on the guide, depending on the journal in which you're submitting your article, you will find a variety of methods or variety of styles that are being adopted and that are acceptable to the university or to the journal or to the publisher for as citation style. But broadly speaking, we can divide the citation style into two types: what we call footnote and what we call reference list. So there are footnote, endnotes, and the third one, which is now more commonly, very oftenly used in social science, is the author date or the in-text citations. So why we use footnote, endnotes, and why do we use in-text citation would vary from subject, would vary from discipline, would vary from the journal publisher or the universities, etc. But what is more important is, why do we need to use references, or why do we need to cite our work? Now, the first thing is, every research paper or thesis is weighed on the rigor in which the researcher puts in to explain the context, to explain the topic. And therefore, in order to substantiate that argument, to substantiate the content of what you have drawn from other sources, you will definitely need to cite those references. You definitely need to provide an endnote, footnote, or an in-text citation. But what is more important in an academic writing is that the reader, or you are required to identify for your reader which ideas, which facts, which theories, which concepts are yours and which are being derived from others, or which are being derived from other scholars or from other sources. So whenever you summarize, whenever you paraphrase, and whenever you use direct quote, it is not your original idea. It is not your original idea, and therefore the sources from which you have been taking these ideas, or you're taking this quotes or paraphrasing the idea, needs to be cited. So referencing in general is a standardized method of formatting the information sources that you have used in your written work. And therefore, it serves three major purposes. The first purpose is to acknowledge the intellectual depth to another author. And this serves us in avoiding plagiarism. Nowadays, plagiarism is a major issue. Many you must have already discussed about this aspect of plagiarism, etc. But plagiarism is a major issue, and we need to ensure that we avoid plagiarism. And to avoid plagiarism, the best way is to acknowledge the sources from where you acknowledge the sources. It is also important from the academic ethical point of view. From ethical point of view, we need to acknowledge what we have taken from others, and we should not be claiming what belongs to others. So this is one of the important reasons why referencing becomes very important in academic writing. Another important aspect of referencing is support. It provides evidence to a certain specific facts or certain specific claims. You may be making an argument, but to substantiate that argument, you need to support it with the argument of another scholar in that particular discipline. It may be one or more than one scholar. So in order to provide evidence to your facts or to your claims, you need to again make a reference in your text. And the third important aspect of referencing is referral. What I mean by referral is to enable a reader to find the sources that you have quoted. Now you have cited something, you have quoted something, and it is important for me as a reader or as an examiner to refer back to that original source or original text. And this is also very important because it enables future scholars or another scholar working on that discipline, on that field, to find a point of reference. So that is why it is very important that you have to prepare a bibliography or a reference list depending on what method you are adopting. And the rule of citation, not going by the style, is uniformity. Whatever style you are adopting, you need to maintain uniformity in your citation style. So I think that's why when I'm looking at plagiarism, the first point, I don't think I want to discuss this because we can save time in discussing something else. Okay. So why do I have to reference? Now, when I have to do referencing, or if I have poor referencing, it is also classified as academic misconduct, or which also leads to my earlier slide, which is called plagiarism, right? But it is a requirement in which we have to communicate. Whether it is an assignment, journal article, we need to communicate. So in that communication, we are using the sources or the ideas or the facts or the concepts or the theories from secondary sources, from other data. So we need to provide an indication or we need to cite the source. What is more important, that in an academic writing or when we are writing for academic purpose, referencing helps us or helps the writer or as a student to construct, structure, support, and communicate arguments. What I mean to say is that when we are constructing argument, when we are structuring our arguments, it is bound that we are going to draw from the languages or from the style from other sources. Second important aspect of every research is that we are drawing from existing literature. Whatever we are writing, whatever we are arguing, we are drawing from existing literature. And therefore references support this system, support this process, in the sense that when we are drawing from other literature, our arguments, our facts, referencing supports this process. And this is where we are able to link the work of other scholars to our own work. We are able to synthesize the ideas of other scholars to our own argument, to our own work. So what happened in this, something is what I said in the literature review, is that it shows the relationship between the existing knowledge and the past knowledge. So how you synthesize, how you paraphrase will vary from person to person, from subject to subject, but it is allowing us to draw linkages between the existing literature, if I put it in one word. And it also helps us to structure our argument very effectively. Because when you give a reference that X, Y, Z have stated this, or ABC author have stated this, and it's an acclaimed work in that particular discipline, right? It provides effective arguments, or it adds to my argument. Therefore, references or referencing allows us to assess, compare, contrast, and evaluate different sources. I repeat, therefore, it allows us to assess, compare, contrast, and evaluate different sources. Right? So, why do I need to reference? So, first is it shows adherence to academic writing standards. Second is we acknowledge the work of others, thereby avoiding plagiarism. Provides evidence that you have read and considered relevant. It validates and confirms your sources. And it also gives credibility to your work. If you want to make your work credible, okay, you have to give referencing, right? And therefore, many of us know, many of you know that we would not like to cite Wikipedia or certain, websites which are not acclaimed. You will always want to cite work that comes from well-established scholars or from good journals, well-established journal. Why? Because you want to indicate that your work is credible. The credibility of a work depends on the books or like I said earlier, it depends on the literature that you have reviewed. And obviously, when you have reviewed good literature, you will have good citations, good scholars to mention in your work. So this is why referencing becomes important. So all the sources that, or whatever you have taken from other sources, maybe even an inspiration, maybe a theory, an argument, a point of view, any specific information like statistics, examples, case study, figures, even if you have paraphrased and summarized a particular work, you are required to cite it. You are required to cite it. Above that, anything that you have quoted into inverted commas needs to be cited, right? But remember one thing, that whatever sources you are taking, it needs to be relevant to your argument. Not just because someone is great or some scholars is well known in your discipline, you want to use it. No, it needs to be relevant to your argument. It must join neatly, very clearly with your overall argument or overall whatever you're trying to write. It's not that you're only taking sources. You're writing certain things in your own words. You're making your own expression. And then you co-join the author's view in terms of paraphrase, in terms of direct quotation, or in terms of summary. You need to link it to your overall argument, overall argument and evidence. So in other words, reference is a way to provide evidence to support the assertions and claims in your own assignment, right? So this is why citation and reference are important. Now, referencing styles varies across discipline, across journals, which I said earlier. So what you should do from the very first day or from the very initial days, you should use the style your university or tutor recommends you. And in case you're submitting a paper to any journal, please refer to the submission guidelines, etc. I think the earlier session dealt with many softwares, and things have been made very, very easy for research scholars across the globe in the present time, given the fact that technology enables us to do a lot of work and we don't have to enter such data manually. So I have in the last, but I think you have dealt with Manly and Zotero and endnotes.com, my bibliography, and there are some online sites also which say site value right or something like that. Irrespective of that, you should know your style and the edition that you're using. Every referencing style have varied edition. Like Chicago Manual is the 17th edition. Blue Book, I think so, is the 19th or 20th edition, if I'm not mistaken. But the best rule 1 is know your style and the edition, and rule 2 for referencing is maintain uniformity, right? Don't mix match your referencing style. Now the question is, what is more important for us, or what we miss out? Is that what should I reference? What are the sources that I need to reference? I'm referring more to Chicago style here because I often use that, but this is adopted by all the styles. So we are not going to the styles, rather than we are going to the general framework of what is required for citation. In today's content, or if I say, in today's research culture, we are allowed to cite everything. I mean, to the extent of even citing personal emails. You can cite personal emails, you can cite YouTube lectures or some discussions or debates on YouTube. You can cite blogs, you can cite everything. So that is one thing that has the citation style, which has the newer edition, allows you to cite everything. So whether it is books, journals, newspaper, magazine, pamphlet, brochures, films, documentaries, television programs, even advertisement, obviously websites, electronic sources. Someone says that even letters and emails, like emails, I wrote to a professor about asking him a question or a few questions on a particular, or his view on a particular topic. And he sent a response back through via an email. So I can cite that as XYZ personal communication, email dated so and so. Similarly, if you have interviewed someone and you have just jotted down something, and with the permission of the, obviously with the permission of the interviewer, you want to cite that person, you can say, if you're allowed to use the name, you can always say XYZ personal interview conducted on so and so date. Or if the person says that to keep my name anonymous, you say ABC into bracket, name change because of anonymity, personal interview conducted in so and so. Since many of the Western universities, lectures are uploaded, outline of lectures are uploaded through RSS or through via other means on the website. And if you are quoting something from the lecture notes, after taking due permission, you can even cite XYZ lecture on so and so topic conducted at Gujarat National Law University, dated so and so, right? So sorry, this is yeah. So you are able to cite everything, even personal communication in your citation. And obviously film, documentaries, television programs, etc. can be cited. I have the sample at the last, which you may refer. The overall format remains the same. What changes is the punctuation or the year of the placement of the year. So that would vary from style to style. Now, there is 2 or 3 important things that I want to point here, that you also need to refer the reprint or the copy of diagram, illustration, charts, and pictures. Now, here I want to add another point, which has come through some experience, that if you are using, or somebody told me that I don't need to cite this chart, the pie diagram, or this graph, because it is something that I have prepared. So the question that I asked the person was, from where did you get the data? So he says that I got the data from EPW, or I got the data from census. So you have to cite that prepared by the author or prepared by the researcher, but the source of the data is the Census of India. You cannot claim it is your source. Okay. So even when you are preparing table for an empirical research, you will say source, empirical research conducted by it is the safest way to keep a track of what you have mentioned, what you are using in your research work. So you may use the data from EPW and you may create a chart, or you may create a pie diagram or something else. But then please ensure that you mention the source. You may say prepared by the researcher or the scholar or the author, but you have to mention the sources. Someone takes the structure of the hierarchical structure of, say, the Ministry of External Affairs, and he prepares it in his own way, in his own design, adding more colors or boxes, etc. You have only designed it. The source is not yours. The hierarchy is being put on the website of the Ministry of External Affairs. So you have taken all the sources from there. You have representing it. So the source and the idea do not belong to you. So please see that when you are taking an illustration or a chart or figures which belongs to other sources, you may be redesigning it, you may be reanalyzing it in your own words, but ensure that if the data is taken from other sources, you need to cite it, right? So you need to document everything that you are taking from other sources, direct quotes, sentences, words, content that is being paraphrased or summarized, terminology which do not belongs to you, theories, ideas, someone else's line of thought, that the thought belongs to someone else, it belongs to some other scholars, historical, statistical, scientific facts, graphs, drawings. You may aggregate the data, but the data is not yours. What I said earlier, you may aggregate the data, represent it. So all these things needs to be kept in mind while you are looking at citation. Okay, so this is something that I have said earlier also. Probably whenever you take your notes or whenever you are reading from certain sources or photocopy, please ensure that you collect the complete detail or bibliographic information of that particular work, right? Name, surnames, initials, publication, the year of publication, if it is journal, the volume number, if it is website, the URL, and the date on which you have, visited that site or downloaded that document. When you go to Jester and you download an article, it automatically says downloaded by XYZ by the institute on so and so date. But in many of the websites, when we download from other sources, we may not be knowing the date. So we need to write the date of download. Some style or some journal requires you to write visited on or accessed on. Nowadays, many of the style do not require to write the name accessed on or visited on, because you have many of the journal articles have a DOI, or many of the book have a DOI, digital object identifier, right? So there is a big number there, DOI. So whoever clicks on that number, he goes to the same web page or the same website. So DOI becomes very important to mention. So once you have the DOI, you don't need to mention the access date, etc. Right? So we have different citation style used in academic writing, right? So we have the MLA, which is generally used in education, psychology, and science. The APA in humanities, the Chicago Manual in business, anthropology, social science, philosophy. The Oxford Oskala style is used in legal studies. The Blue Book is also used in legal studies. You have the Maroon Book, which is the Chicago Manual for law, but it is not used very much in Indian context. So there are various styles, and you need to know your styles for your academic writing. So I'll go more into the other details. What do you require whenever you are reading any article, online, offline? Ensure that you have the name of the author or the authors, the year, the name of the article. If it is a journal, the volume, the issue, the page number, the title of the journal. If it is a book, the author or authors, the year, the book title, and the publisher's information. That is, who is the publisher and the place of publication. Then if it is a chapter in a book, you need to know, you need to have the name of the author, the chapter, and in which book it is. Like in Social Insects, edited by, if it is one editor, many editors, so you have the plural, etc. So this is broadly, I think most of us know about it, but this is what you need to keep in mind while drawing from information. So coming back to some important questions that you need to keep in mind while preparing your reference list or your bibliography, right? So I'll, not because my name is starting with W, but you can remember me also, but at the same time you remember some of these W's that I have mentioned in terms of you need to remember while you create your bibliography. This is just a way of remembering things. Who wrote, when was it published, what is the title of the book, where was it published, who published it, where was the article located, serial, journal, website, page number, where do you locate it, internet source, URL. So remember some of this W, who, what. This is something that I always keep in mind when I'm writing, when I keep in mind when I look at the question of research. I remember Rudyard Kipling and his 6 honest serving men, which he wrote in his poem, The Elephant, and his well-known phrase, I keep 6 honest serving men. They taught me all I knew. Their names are what and why, when and how, where and who. This is a very important phrase which I always use in terms of trying to understand a research question or answering a research question or trying to deal with a literature review. Like, why was it written? When was it written? But when I'm coming back to this question of creating bibliography, remember the W's. They are important indicators. And these are the information that you need to keep with you. You need to keep with you, whether you jot it down or whether you type it out. And if you're even using software, any software, whether it is Manly, Zotero, both which are free. Microsoft Windows also allows you to use the software, which I'll show you later on if you want, if time permits and if we are able to deal with that. But I think you already have been accustomed, but you will have to prepare the database. And what I'm trying to say is whatever software you use, it is not a ready-made source which will just convert your Word file into a bibliographic file. So you'll have to enter If it is a journal, you have to enter the details for a journal. If it is a website, you need to enter the details for a website. Because I've seen it in the software also, if you enter the wrong information in the wrong category, it will give you a wrong citation, right? So you can mess up with the author date, authors and date, or the place of publication. So you have to see, you have to create a database. That's a very simple way that I can put it. You have to create a database. There is no shortcut to getting your citation automatically done by a software, right? So even if you're using a software, you need to remember author, whether it is an editor or editors, right? Because if it's editor, it is ed. If it is editors, it is eds, right? If it is an anonymous, it is then you have to mention is anonymous. So there are so many other criteria that you have to keep in mind while looking at citation, right? So there are few broad citation style which I'll briefly and very quickly move before I if there is any question, you can put in the chat box. Yeah. So coming to one of the more common style nowadays that has been many journals, many universities insist on the in-text citation or the author date style. Now, in-text or author date citations are the references that we use in the running text, yeah, and we place the author name and the year of publication and the page number within brackets, right? So it is known as in-text or author date citation. And when we use such type of citation, we prepare a reference list at the end of the paper, which is prepared alphabetically with the surname of the with the last name of the authors, or what we call the surname first. So alphabetically with the last name of the author. This is my suggestion. This is my suggestion, or which I found it to be very, very convenient, irrespective of whether this style is being used by you for the submission of a thesis or a research paper. While drafting the paper or while drafting the thesis or your chapter, I would suggest that always use the in-text or author date system. So simultaneously, when you are using the author date system, you can keep on preparing a reference list at the end, or even your database would allow you to draw on all the references that you have used. Now, why this author date system becomes convenient? Say, for example, I wrote a paragraph and then suddenly I wanted to shift it to the end or to the middle or to some other part of the text. I am not lost. Because if you're using footnoting, superscript, footnote or endnote, the chances are there that once you change the paragraph, your footnoting number will change. I think all of you have experienced this. Your footnote or endnote number will change because it is auto footnoted. So what will happen is you will have problem in tracing the sources. So I suggest that when you are drafting, this is what I use. When I'm drafting, I always use the author name and the page number in the running text in a bracket. Later on, I may choose whatever style I want, right? So this might be helpful to you as a tips. This is from my own experience, right? So this is, sorry. I hope you can read this. This is just giving an example of in-text citation, right? I don't need to read it. You just see that within the right, if there is one author, there is two author, year and page number. This is in-text citation. There's a mistake here, sorry. This is some style would ask for page number, P for one page, or PP, or some style would ask for a colon and just the number. that is indicative of page number. So in an in-text citation, I will have Schaeffler and Kimlicka, and this will be my list of references at the end of my paper, at the end of my chapter. So your title is at list of references, right? So this is how you will be doing in an in-text citation. Another way is, again, this is something that we use in literature review also. This is in a narrative style. The author's name is used in the sentence itself. Stein 2018 studied whether the etc., and they put it in the last page 42, or you can put page 231 within the bracket. Now, putting the P and not putting the P would vary from Chicago APA, would vary from style to style. So we do not worry about that. Once you know the style, those things are very minor changes that has to be taken place. So we use the in-text style, author date style, or the parenthetical style or parenthetical citation. So this is something that is now very commonly used by, very often used by journals and universities. We also have something called embedded quotation. Now, what is embedded quotation? Embedded quotation is when you incorporate a small passage or a small line within your own argument, right? Within your own argument, you just give me 1 minute. Sorry, there was a call, so I had to take it. Yeah. So I'm having a problem. Is my screen clear, Danya?
Sir, there is something, please. Now it is clear, sir.
Okay, okay. Something, I'm getting a message, something. Anyway.
Yes, sir, please move this window away from the shared application.
Which window? Okay, now it's coming, I think so. But it is readable, right?
Yes, sir, it is readable, but we can see the message again.
बाकी कुछ problem तो नहीं है ना?
नहीं है, sir.
ठीक है. I'll just see what happened. I don't know.
Sir, I think you can drag it down.
नहीं हो रहा है. Anyway,
Sir, if you want, you can stop sharing and try again. Yes, sir, now it is clear.
yeah, so this is something I was talking about, embedded quotation. What is embedded quotation? We do not worry about the term. Nobody is going to ask you what is it, but embedded quotation is when you incorporate a brief passage or a brief line or few words within your own sentence. For example, I'm just reading it out. Recently, several commentators have suggested that, I'm using this from Asuddin et al. Business education may have a deleterious effect on the morality and ethics of managers. Okay, then again, I'm saying thus careful training in ethics, inverted comma, is increasingly viewed to be a more important component. So this is called embedded quotation, where you are using your expression, your view, and trying to substantiate it or put in or link it with the view of some other scholar. Now there you are taking the words verbatim, so you're putting it in inverted comma, right? So similarly, you can see another example. According to Jones, students often had difficulty using APA style, especially when it was their first time. Right? So if you do not include the author's name in the text, you can place it at the last. That is not a big problem, right? So here I'm saying she stated students often had difficulty using APA style. Then my sentence come, but she did not offer an explanation as to why, right? Or in the earlier sentence, I said students have difficulty, etc. What implication does this have for teachers? These are my sentence. These are my views, my statements, my question, right? So this is called embedded quotation, where you embed someone else for words, phrase, or sentence within your own phrase, arguments, or within your own line, right? So this is where I was trying to bring a difference between quotation and in-text citation. Then you have embedded citation, and quotation is something different, which I'll come later on. Then you have endnotes and footnotes. I don't think I would want to go into the details of that, because we all know about that. So footnote is basically, footnote and endnotes both are superscript numbers. So footnote and endnotes both are superscript numbers. That is, superscript means, I think you understand that you're putting a number sequentially, 1, 2, 5, 10, whatever it is. But in the footnote, the details is given at the end of the page, that is at the foot of the page. And in endnotes, the detail has been given at the end of the chapter, right? Or at the end of the research paper. This is the only difference between endnotes and footnote, whereas all the details that are required for a citation is required for in-text or parenthesis, is required for endnote, is required for footnote. That is the full detail, as I mentioned as an example here, etc., etc. Murray K, National Westminster Bank, etc. And if you are repeating the citation, then you use the word IB'd, right? IB'd. But nowadays, we are not using this IB'd, we are using the shortened version. I'll come to that again later. So let us make the difference between citation, reference, and bibliography, right? So citation is the reference that the reference that you are given to the exact phrase, summary, ideas, quotation that you have taken from a work. So you cite within a paragraph, within a page, you have citation. So you put the source there. So citation is everything that you cite, whether it is parenthesis, whether it is a footnote, whether it is endnote. So whatever things you are referring to, that is called citation, right? It is the source that you have consulted, the source that you have used, be it idea, summary, graph, table, etc. References is the list which you include of all the sources that you have used in your citation. References includes all the sources that you have used in a citation. Now in a bibliography, there is a slight difference between reference and bibliography. Bibliography uses all the sources that you have cited, but it can also use or add the sources which you have referred. You may not have cited, but you have referred, right? But to be on a safer side, it should not happen that you have your references only 50 books and journals, etc., and then you make a bibliography of 200 sources just because you have got it from somewhere else. So don't be tempted to include everything. Only include those things which are connected to your reference list. So reference list and bibliography are almost identical in the sense that it comes at the end of your work, right? But in a reference which comes at the end of a chapter would include, I repeat, reference which would come at the end of every chapter. This is for a thesis more specifically, would include only those sources that you have used in your paper. Whereas bibliography, which you may use at the end of the thesis, includes everything that is in the reference list, but it may include other materials which you may have consulted and not used. And I also give you a disclaimer, don't get tempted to include everything. Yeah? So to impress your tutor or to impress your reader, so that you have to take a call on that, right? Okay. Now comes the more important aspect for all research scholars is how many quotes should be used. I don't think I need to explain what is quotation. Quotations are the exact verbatim words or phrase taken from another source, right? How much should we quote? As a general guidelines, it is said that you should not quote exact quotes more than 10, between 5 to 10% is advisable, but it depends from different type of work. Say someone is doing mainly on judgments, then I think he or she will have more quotations, right? If someone is doing on literature, then he or she might have little more quotations. But as a general rule, this is a thumb rule, try to avoid direct quotation or verbatim quotation beyond 10%, right? But sorry, yeah. Okay. Now, what are the important factors that we look into quotation? When we when we take phrases or words, there are different type of entries that we would like to make. The first type of entry of a quotation is that you will want to take only some part of a quote. And when you take some part of the quote where you want to avoid unnecessary sentences or sentences that are not related to your topic, you will use three dots or the punctuation mark, which is known as ellipsis. What is ellipsis and what is the rule of using ellipsis? Now, ellipsis is the three dots, or the maximum is the four dots. I'll come to the four dots a little later. Is the three dots that you use while you are using direct quotation. Now you want to remove certain words or certain line from that exact quote because of space, because it is unnecessary clogging with your idea. So you will include three dots. So in case you leave a word or some words from a quote, you have to indicate it three dots. Say for example, the writing center is located on the UNC campus. The sentence was, the writing center is located at the UNC campus and it serves the entire UNC community. Now, I don't want that is located on the UNC campus. So writing center ... serves the entire UNC community, right? Another example is the boy ran to school forgetting the lunch boxes. Even though they were out of breath, they made it on time. Now, see carefully here. There are two sentences here. The boy ran to school forgetting the lunches and their books, full stop. Even though they were out of breath, they made it on time. Now remember one thing, that when you are eliminating certain words or phrases, you cannot eliminate the original punctuation. Say for instance, here after the books there was a full stop. So I have to maintain the full stop, and I added three dots for eliminating forgetting their lunches and books. So there will be four dots. In this case, there will be four dots. Three for the ellipses that I eliminated. Fourth is for the full stop that was in the original text. I also kept the capital letter E. I cannot change this, right? So this is why you use ellipsis, to avoid means to remove certain phrases or to remove certain words which is not required or which do not use. Another important way in which you when you're using direct quote, another important aspect is the use of square brackets. When do you use your square brackets? You use the square brackets to emphasize on a particular word or to put your own word or substitute certain words in the original quotation. You're putting your own words or substituting certain words in the original quotation. So you need to use square brackets, not round, right? Square brackets. There's a rules of using brackets also. Say, for example, whatever is the sentence, I'm just making it short, etc., impacted this sphere of constitutional reforms. Now, the reader is not very sure what sphere of constitutional reforms I am talking. So I want to make it specific to the reader that this sentence is related to political sphere. So I put the word political in square brackets, right? So the example is I'm using the square brackets because the word political is being inserted by me. It is not there in the original text. So it gives an indication to the author or to the reader or to the examiner that I'm emphasizing on this word political, or I'm inserting this word political out of, this is my word. Similarly, you need to be very careful. There are many times where you will have direct quotes which you are taking from the middle of a text, and there is the use of and then they have used pronouns he, she, they, etc. Now I am taking something from between. How do my reader know who is this she, who is this they, who is this he? So this is an example. I'm replacing the pronoun. She answers the stepmother with whines and pleading. She is a sorry excuse for a heroine, pitiable and useless. Now this is in relation to a novel by Jane Yolin, where she's writing about Cinderella. So what I did is I wrote Jane Yolin believes that whatever is my sentence, but I put Cinderella is sorry excuse for a heroine, pitiable and useless. Now this she, I'm identifying who is this she. So this she is Cinderella or ABC or XYZ, whatever it may be. So here again, you use a square bracket. This is when you're quoting someone directly and you are making changes, right? Another important place where you use the square bracket in a direct quotation is that when you want to change the capital, the cases of a particular word. Either you make it capital or you make it small, vice versa. So when you make these changes from uppercase to lowercase or vice versa, you need to use the square bracket. Inverted comma, I changed the from small to capital. This study has been widely cited, etc. Similarly, under the term of his employment contract, is P was capital, I made P small, performance. So here I have to use square brackets. So this is another indication where it tells the reader or the examiner or the reader particularly we are looking at that these are certain changes that the author have done to the direct quotes, right? Sorry, this slide got repeated. Another important point which just came to my mind is about using the ellipsis, but it is not used for us in law or social science. It is usually used in informal writing, but I think I can share with you that we use ellipses, 3 dots, punctuation in a less formal writing. Maybe when we are writing a mail or when we are writing a informal letter or writing literature. One is to express hesitation. Like, I'd really like to go for the movie ... But what if we get caught? Or when I'm expressing a thought, I just thought we could, okay, ... never mind. Okay. But this is just to give you a indication that it is used in literature or in poetic language to express hesitation, to express a flowing idea. So many times we use that, okay, dot, 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 catch you up next time. But we did not worry it, but we can use it in informal writing also. So looking at the idea of using brackets, why to use brackets, why to use ellipsis. Now we come to block quotes. What I mean to block quote is that you are taking a large content or a large section of a text within within your work, within your paper, within your thesis, a huge content of a text. Maybe it is a few lines of a poetry, a few lines of a judgment, few lines of a book. Now that is called a block quote, right? So when you quote a huge number of source, that is known as block quote. So what you do in block quote, instead of using quotation marks, right, you put that content in a new paragraph and you indent it by 0.5 inch on the left margin. You indent it by 5 space or 0.5 inch. I hope I'm right, 5 inch, right? So you separate that content from the original text or from the running text. So when you're quoting original work, literature, or you want a huge chunk of, the phrase and word from a particular author, you use block quotation. That is known as block quotation. I'll give an example. Now, this is just to give an indication. As per the APA style, quotes longer than 40 words needs to be block quoted. MLA says quotes of prose more than 4 lines needs to be block quoted. And Chicago says that quotes longer than 100 words needs to be block quoted. Now, these are general rules that are adopted by various footnoting citation styles. But the point is that if it is better to be safe, that if it is more than 3-4 lines or many lines, you should use block quoting. Now, what is block quoting? This is an example. One, the world of photography has improved from the analog, but remember that when you are giving a block quote, you have to use the name of the author before the end of the line. According to Johnson 2010, I'm using in-text citation, that is why. According to Johnson 2010 or according to Johnson, block quote, digital cameras have recorded a very high. You may italicize it or you may not italicize it. It varies from style to style. APA would say do not italicize. Chicago says italics it, and it should be double spaced, right? So there are those rules which you need to adopt depending on the citation style. And thanks to internet, everything is available. They'll tell you how to do it in various style. But the point is that you need to remember that, yes, this is a block quote. It is more than 40 words or more than 60 words, 100 words, 200 words. Okay. And then I start with my paragraph again. Johnson added that the use of smartphone and iPads that come with camera have also played a role in phasing of the analog's camera. So I start with the paragraph, give the name Johnson, then I quote exactly what he has to say. Only thing is there is no need of inverted commas. You don't need to add that, but you have to indent. This is not indented because I think sorry, I'll just do it for you. Yeah. So this should be this is how it will look on the text or on the paper, right? So this is why you need to use how block quote, right? Now there is another important phrase or what we use. Just give me a minute. Another word is called SIC. In Latin, it means thus. When do you use the word thus? You use the word thus mainly when, I would say, when you have altered a citation. When you found that there is a spelling error or there is a grammatical error or there is a Indian word or a non-English word, depending on what you're writing. So you notice that in the source material there is an error, right? So you want to denote that error. Okay. You want to denote that error, but I don't want to change the word because this is original. So she wrote, they made their beds. So I put SIC into box bracket. The correct sentence should have been, they made their bed. So this is the correct sentence, but since the author have used THERE or some other grammatical error, I cannot change it. So I put sick. Right? So you need to remember this, that the word sick is used when there is one more here. Yeah. Sorry, just give me a minute. I missed out something. Okay, I'll come to that point again later. That again, I think I missed out here, or I edited the. There is another place where you use the word emphasis added. So emphasis added is, you want to add a word, or you have changed a word in the original phrase or in the original quotation. So what you need to do is you need to italicize that word that you have changed. And then at the end of the phrase, at the end of the quotation, you have to write the word emphasis added, or you can say my emphasis, right? My emphasis or emphasis added, and this will be in round bracket. I'll just type it here if I can. So I changed this word, the correct sentence, let's put it like that. I changed this word, so I made it there. So if I'm using this word there, I have to put in italics, and I can say added or my emphasis, right? So this is, I've changed the word. So I have to write my emphasis added, and this has to be italics. I have done red here, it should be black that way. Okay, I hope you get this point. Yeah. So this is where you use sick and where you use emphasis added. Now there are many Latin abbreviations or Latin terms that we use in citation style or in reference style. We use opposite, opera citato, which means in the work cited. This is used usually for numeric citation, where we use in social science, where we use numbers, that is endnotes and footnotes. We use IBID, the short form for ibidem, which means in the same place. It is used immediately after the reference which is above, right? And it is used IBID alone, that is after the first reference is XYZ, the next reference is referring to the same reference, so you say IBID. Similarly, you use the word supra, which is used mostly in legal writings and legal work. Supra is used to cite prior materials, while infra is used to cite subsequent materials, right? Both the terms, it is seen when I saw from Blue Book and also from Oscala, they always say that when you say supra and infra, you use the word, don't use it singularly, but with the combination of C infra, number so and so, C supra, number so and so, right? So that will specify you to the specific material. Many times when you student submits the project, anywhere they'll write the word supra infra. So you need to give the specific reference to which number it is referring to, whether it is infra or supra. But fortunately, I'm giving you the other side of it. Nowadays, most of the journals or most of the universities discourage us from using all these Latin phrases. They have discouraged us from using this phrases because it simply clutters the reader's mind and do not tell us specifically what are you referring to, right? So earlier people used to loc sit, loco citato, in the place cited. number so and so. Okay, loco citato number 5, number 8. And ID is an all-purpose short form. When you I see some of the projects that are submitted by students, with due respect to everyone, ID is simply used randomly in the social science also and the law student, because we have both law and social science. So social science students are saying, sir, I'm using Chicago manual, and he's doing supra and infra. And the law student who is using Oscala would say, I'm using opposite and IBID. So this is all a mix match. But anyway, whatever you're using, you need to be clear about supra infra, more for legal studies, and opposite and IBID is used more for social science studies, right? And loxit and ID are hardly used nowadays. But the last thing I would like to say is that nowadays it is more common for us to give the shortened form of previously listed notes. Okay. Oscala guide, page number 7, clearly states, do not use supra, infra, ante, ID, opposite, loxit, contra, as they are not widely understood. This is on page number 7 of Oscala guide, right? If you read the Oscala guide, the initial pages, you will find this is what is said. So I'm telling you about something which is more commonly used. Use the shortened form, and I'll show you how. Say, for example, in my first note, I said Barbara Brooks, etc., right? So the shortened notes would be Tomlin, Civil War on the Mississippi. You don't need to give all the details. Page 50. Or Tomlin, page 50. Or Tomlin, page 63 to 64, right? So when there are intervening references, multiple pages, intervening references, nowadays it is discouraged to use IBID, opposite, etc. IBID is still allowed because IBID comes immediately after the citation. So it is very easy to refer that IBID means something about. But opposite, loxit, infra, supra, they are saying please do not use it, because it simply frustrates the reader. It simply creates more confusion rather than indicating the exact source, right? So I was something that I mentioned earlier, that when you're using diagram, photograph, tables, etc. So whenever you're using tables in your research work, please sequence your table as table number 1, 2, 3, 4, and give a title to each of the tables. It's very essential that you number your table and provide a title for the table. Similarly, if you are having graphs, number your graphs and give a title to the graphs. Graph, pie charts, etc. Similarly, photographs can also be titled and can also be numbered. Say you have diagram figure 1 or photographs figure 1. If you have table, it's table 1, table 2, etc. Right? And secondly, you have to give the reference. Say, for example, figure 8.1, it is the photograph of XXX taken from so-and-so sources. Suppose table 1, I write sources, Skinner 2002. So a full reference to the source of figure should be given, right? And as I said earlier, even in case of table, even if you have prepared the table from various sources, mention compiled by the author or the researcher, and then mention the sources. This is very, very essential, like where many of us miss this, right? So see that you take care into mentioning this thing. Second important aspect where many of us, this is the part of the ethical aspect of researching, is what I call secondary referencing. That is, we are referring to an author, or we have used a particular author, phrases or quotes or ideas which is being mentioned in another author. For example, we are copying John Austin's idea from MP Jain's book, right? Or we are copying Peter's idea from Martin. So many of us, this is not to be critical, but there is no way of tracing it, to be honest, right? There's no way of tracing it. But on the ethical side and the moral side, first of all, we should avoid secondary referencing. But even if you are using secondary referencing, then please mention the original references and the person who quoted it, right? Say, for example, by Martin as quoted by Peter, or John Austin XXX cited in MP Jane YYY book. I think you know that. So I used the phrase of Jane Austen, but I have not read Jane Austen. I'm copying that phrase from MP Jane book. So I say John Austin cited in MP Jane, etc., 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 page number, etc. So I'm being very sure that I'm not claiming that I have read John Austin. So this is called secondary referencing. So even if you're taking one or two sources, please mention the original source. You should not, you should acknowledge from which source you have taken, right? These are various referencing style. You have the
William,
AP. Yeah.
sorry for interrupting you, sir. I just want to know, like, if I want to quote in my footnotes itself, or if I want to explain a particular footnote. So, like, I have not seen consistency in various, citation books. So, like, few suggest that I first have to write the citation and then put a comma, and then within round, क्या बोलते हो?
Square.
Square, not the square one, the round brackets. I need to write the quotation. And few says that first I have to write the quotation and then I have to put the citation name. So, like, if you can shed light on that, how do I quote within the footnotes?
How do you quote within footnotes?
Yes, sir. In the footnotes, like, see, suppose if I have written a particular name of the judgment,
Yeah.
and I have quoted something on in my text,
Right.
but then I want to quote another paragraph. So
Yeah.
can I add it in my footnote? See also, and then paragraph this, then within quotes, something like this.
No, in that what you do, suppose you have multiple. I hope I'm getting it correct. Say, for example, you have in a footnote number 1, you have MP Jane, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you first mention MP Jane, etc., etc. Then you put a semicolon. See also XYZ for a better explanation on this term or on this phrase, etc.
Okay.
Right. So if you see many scholars, in theoretical work, you will find that in one paragraph or in one paragraph or whatever you have written, there'll be more than one citation.
Yes, sir.
You will say number 1. I'm just using number 1. Number 1. ABC, that is the main author you're taken. Then you say that no, see also this. See also this. I think I forgot that. It's good you pointed out. Next time when I take this, you can mention more than one author in a footnote. Yes. But उसमें semicolon डाल के see also.
सर वो राउंड ब्रैकेट्स लगाने जरूरी होते हैं क्या उसमें कोड से पहले, क्या फिर वो उसकी जरूरत नहीं होती?
No, it's not necessary. It depends on which style you're following.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends on which style you're following. Every style will have, some would say round, some would say just a semicolon. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, William, sir.
Yeah. So what I'm not specifying on one style. See, I listed so many styles. So anyway, we're not going to that style. But the point what I'm trying to say is, these are very simple. I think you have read it where I'm talking the material type, the in-text citation and reference list. Now this would vary. किसी में क्या होगा कि the year would be at the end. Some would say no comma. Some would say Oscar Lovewood doesn't use too many punctuation. Some use italics. So this variation would come from various citation style. But my emphasis today is to say that what are the content, what are the information that you need for any reference, right? And how to use that box and square and whenever you make changes to quotation, because This I think so most of you know it. So I want to point out at something important here. See, chapter in an edited book, this also we need to be careful. Blackster I'm following Chicago. Social class and health inequalities in so-and-so book edited by. Right? So you need to remember this, in and edited by. Even if you're using a preface, you can say forwarded to a political practical introduction to economic methods by so-and-so. So even you can use forward, you can use preface. More importantly, what I want to emphasize here is, this is I've told you secondary sources. Try to look for URL and a digital object identifier. These are important aspect when you're doing online. Most of the literature from online, that is what most of us do nowadays. So you need to remember this, accessed on and the complete URL. You cannot miss on this. And if you have the DOI, then you will have to give the DOI. Then you don't need to give access date or whatever it is. You can just give DOI. So this is where you need to look at, be more careful while citing. Now there are organizations, Government of India, World Bank, there is no authors. So you will have to write World Bank or Billabong International Limited annual report, right? So again, this conference proceeding. So if there is a conference proceeding and there is an author or someone who has edited it, then you write name that. So it will be 2006, integrating organization in a supply chain with electronic contracts in managing information, blah, 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 etc. Conference 19 to 21st December 2006, edited by Khalid S. Suleiman, Germany, etc. Right? So this is what I'm trying to say, is that from the initial, when you're reading the text, try to gather as much information as you can. There are lectures, paper presented, book review, journal article. I've given you all the examples. I'm not going to read it. Online magazine, patent documents, etc. Right? Unpublished work, dissertation. Shodh Ganga mein aap jate to dissertation leta hai. So you have to say that Shodh Ganga gives you a very clear indication that if you're taking any material for Shodh Ganga, you please mention the Endel number. Right? Usme, when you click there, they'll say Endel number. So you click the Endel number, that is like a DOI. So XYZ, thesis submitted to Gujarat National Law University 2018, available at Endel so and so. So your reference is complete. Right? So I think I don't think I want to go to reference manager program. Danya, I think you have covered this, right?
Sir, only Mendeley.
Yeah, but manager is same thing.
Yes, sir. But we didn't had a session on Zotero and all. It was only Mendeley.
Mendeley also, I am only good at Mendeley, but I have not used Zotero.
Okay.
The function of all the citation style is the same, right? The first thing is, all the citation manager, whether it is EndNote and reference works are paid. But EndNote is a wonderful software manager. Nowadays, they are offering to students at 12,000 for lifetime, some Indian version. So if somebody wants to think of it, you can think of it. But mainly Zotero allows you only 2 GB of space, cloud space. So you have to manage that space from time to time. But irrespective of whichever software you're using, you will have to do this following exercise. So I'm showing you on the word.
A minute, sir, just a minute.
Yes, madam.
Danya ma'am, when the first phase was going on, InflibNet, a scientist, had come down for lecture.
Yes, ma'am.
He had explained Zotero.
Okay.
Scientist Prahlad was required to come, but because of health emergency with the COVID, he did not. But the next person who had come down he explained these particular what do you say, tools. This but because last year also Mr. Pallab did do it.
Okay.
So same line they have done it. That is first phase. I
Okay.
think you were there, Danya.
Ma'am, he just told them that these are the softwares that they can use. That was even done by the Ramesh C. Gore sir as well. But it was
Okay.
not taught to them how to use it, how to install the software and how to use it.
Actually, it is all just to put it on a very general note. These are all self-learning tools, and this generation doesn't need training like me and Shobrata ma'am, where somebody will come and teach you how to do, right? Because this is all available on online. You just type it and you can download it. So anyway, the mechanism required for all the tools required for all the citation software is the same. They all have what we call the managed source. So let us go to to Microsoft Word. The limitation with Microsoft Word is that they don't allow us to, they don't have Oscala or they don't have Blue Book, I think so, right? So anyway, I'll just show you. You go to the reference tab, you will come to this called manage source. Once you click on the source, manage source, you will come to the next list or next drop down menu, which is there in Manly, which is there in EndNote, etc. They'll say create source. The first thing is you have to type the source. Therefore, I said initially you should be very careful whether it's a book, edited book, journal, conference proceeding, whatever it is. आपको यहाँ से, you have to click it from here only. Once you select, right, whether it is a book, journal, etc., the drop down menu automatically will give you various fields. Once you select that source, then you have the different field. You have author. Corporate author means World Bank, Government of India. So if it is a corporate author, then you click here and say Government of India, Ministry of External Affairs, World Bank. Title, year, city, publisher, everything is there. And on this menu, you also have insert footnote, insert endnote. This is done automatically. And here you can check the style. I hope my cursor is being shown, right? So here you can check the style. It is APA, MLA, whatever style you want. There are some 40-50 styles, I think so, available in Word. I'm not using Word, so I cannot tell you much about it. And this also creates a bibliography automatically. Say if you're writing a paper, you can insert citation while you're writing. And at the end of your work, you just say create bibliography on the drop-down menu. It will automatically create the bibliography of all the work that you have cited in your text. You don't have to do anything. It's all automated. But what you need to work is when you enter the data here, you need to be very careful in entering the data. See, Kramer, comma, James, D. So this is the second name. So I have to put a comma here. So he knows that it is the surname and this is the name. Semicolon, Chen, comma, Jackie. So that you will have to see in the help menu of each citation style. In each reference manager tools, and through that you will be able to understand that, right? So this is when you will see the moment I do that, my reference list is created. My image is small, right? This is my reference list. Automatically they do it APA style. You want some other style, it will change some other style. So for this you need a live demo, which is little not possible online, I think so. But these are the benefits that you have with the citation tools. I just type my text, insert citation. They will drop down me a list, whether I want Alima, I want Booth, I want you. So I select Booth. So automatically Booth aa jayega, right? So, but this all you have to be done from the initial day of your writing or from the time you're writing your chapter. You can have chapter wise file, in your Word file source, you can create separate for separate chapters, right? So that managed source and the database is very, very essential. Just give me 1 minute if I can share this. Can you see the screen of Manly? Manly screen?
Not clearly visible, sir. It's taking time.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So basically this is Manly. When you open here, you have to go add entry manually. So I have to select whether it's a book. So they'll ask me the author, year, page. That's okay if you want to use keyword, city, edition, publisher, URL, catalog ID, DOI, ISBN, whatever information you want, you can add it here, right? So once I add this, I save it, right? Once I save it, it comes, I cannot see the screen because of my this. It will give you all the detail. Now, another important benefit of Manly is that I can directly download things in my Manly, and it will automatically create. I have automatically create the this thing, right? So I download it directly. The article is available with me. I can annotate it. I can underline it. I can do whatever I want, right? I can head note. I can work directly on Manly. I can copy. I can highlight. I can add note for this part. This is good for introduction. Don't mind my spelling, right? So I put notes here, right? Now I go back to the library. I'm just copying this. I think I'll have to share another file. I'm just doing the easy way. I'm clicking this. I've selected, I'm copy as formatted citation, right? Can you see the Word file?
No, sir.
We can see the,
Manly.
yeah.
No, so what I do here is when I go here, I want the citation. I just copy it as formatted citation. My style is, I've chosen my style. So 1 minute, yeah, new share. Now I think you can see the Word file, right? This is not a complete citation, but it gives me
Yes,
the,
yes.
yeah. So I just copy it, right? So I take another work. This is not complete. I'll take from my other folder. Copy as formatted citation, right? So there's something wrong with the page number, but this is how it gives you an exact. So it saves the trouble of, formatting it or, putting it in a bracket, etc. Right? Now I have not updated my manually. That's why there's a problem. The updated one is in my laptop. So this is give an idea that if you are working on manually or if you're working on Word, I think I can show you on Word file also if I have one. I don't have, sorry, I don't have data with me on that. So yeah, so that with that, I think so I end my discussion on importance of referencing and some of the important aspect of ellipsis, block quotation, etc., which is important in keeping your referencing citation and to avoid plagiarism and to give validity to your work. You need to use as many references or good referencing as much as possible. Yeah, so thank you. And the software you have to learn on your own and it will come with practice.
No, it basically comes with practice, sir.
Yes,
it's not learning, it comes with practice. So you may make 1 or 2 mistakes initially, and then once you get a hand on it, it's easy, sir.
It's easy, madam, but the rule is that you start preparing your database from day one. Otherwise, what happens? You collect a lot of material and then you can't sit and do an data entry.
William, sir, I remember what pain it was to create a bibliography.
For us, it was manually everything.
Okay, what pain it was to create it. Only those who have done it then.
I did it
can
all.
Also, I'll tell you what was the pain and what was the pleasure. Tanya ma'am, it was something. I mean, end you used to get terrified. But once it is over, it was a creation. I'll tell you, giving birth to something so wonderful. So yes, we had our pains, but we also had our pleasures. Thank you very much, William sir, for being part of the PhD department and the coursework. Thank you very much. Dhanya ma'am, you can go ahead with the this one.
Vote of thanks, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, we have Asta Thakur, who is ready with the summary of the session and the delivery of vote of thanks. So may I request Asta?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Please go ahead with the vote of thanks, Asta. You can quickly summarize the session.
Yes, ma'am.
Deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, William sir, for this informative session. And I would like to take this opportunity to place on record our hearty thanks to Dr. William Nunes for delivering a knowledgeable session on such an important topic, importance of citation in research writing, that will help us and guide us throughout our journey of research. So in the discussion, sir included important aspects as to citation and referencing, that is, explain when to reference, how to reference, and examples of different forms of referencing. Sir told us about the 3 main purposes that are served by referencing, including acknowledgement, support, and referral. He even told us about the newer edition that allows us to cite anything, including advertisement, blogs, YouTube lectures, emails, letters, films, documentaries, etc. He told us about the details that we have to include as the essentials of citation. The different citation styles, including MLA, APA, Chicago Manual Style, Oscilla, and Blue Book. He told us about W's to remember when creating a bibliography, which include as to who, what, where, when. Sir even told us the commonly used in-text style and author date style when we do the citation. He explained the difference between citation, reference, and bibliography. So apart from this, he told us about block quotes and different formats for block quoting and as according to different citation styles. We were acquainted with relevance of words, abbreviations, and Latin terms used while citation like SIC, offset, IBID, supra, and infra. Sir even told us how to cite diagrams, photographs, and tables, and how to make the full reference to include in the Word. Sir even told us how to use the reference tab in MS Word. Thank you so much, sir. It was an informative session, and we'll keep and consider all the points that you have told when we undergo our research process. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Very
ma'am.
much.